All right, let's jump right in. We're looking at House Resolution 7256.
The Federal Workforce Early Separation Incentives Act.
It's a big title, and honestly, it sounds like some dry, bureaucratic paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to peel back the layers on this one, you see it might be one of the biggest changes to how the U.S. government actually runs that we've seen in, well, in decades.
It really could be.
So before we get into the nuts and bolts, just a quick ask. If you could take a second to like and subscribe, it really does help us out a lot.
It does.
Okay, so House Resolution 7256. At its heart, what this bill does is change how the government pays its employees to leave.
To voluntarily resign or retire. Yes. It's a workforce management tool.
And there's a specific context here, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This was introduced by Representative Nicholas A. Langworthy.
He's a Republican from New York.
Right. Introduced on January 27th, 2026. But that's not the headline. The real story, the thing that signals something unusual is happening, is the committee vote.
What happened there?
On February 4th, the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform reported it out with a unanimous vote.
Unanimous.
43-0.
Every single Republican and Democrat on that committee voted yes.
Yep, 43-0.
In this political climate, that is. That is almost unheard of. You can't get that many people in Congress to agree on the time of day.
Exactly.
So that's our mission today. We're going to unpack that. Why the consensus? What does the bill actually do? And what could this mean for the 2.3 million people in the federal civil service?
And to get to the why, you really have to start with the what.
The money.
The money. We need to talk about the Voluntary Separation Incentive Payment.
Or VSIP. That's the official term for a buyout.
It is. It's the check the government offers to an employee to encourage them to leave their job. And right now, and this has been true since 1994, that buyout is capped.
At what?
$25,000.
Okay, let's hold on that for a second. $25,000. Back in 1994, that was a pretty decent chunk of change.
It was. If you adjust for inflation, that $25,000 from 94 is worth about $55,000 today.
But the cap was never adjusted.
Never. It's been flat for over 30 years.
So in real terms, the incentive has been basically cut in half.
More than half.
Yeah.
And you also have to think about who these buyouts are for.
Not for entry-level folks.
No, not usually. Agencies use them for senior employees, people at the GS-14, GS-15 level.
We're talking senior managers, experts, people earning six figures.
Exactly. And for someone at that level, $25,000 is, well, it's less than 2 months of gross pay. It's not a real incentive to retire early.
So Representative Langworthy's bill, House Resolution 7256, steps in to change that. What's the new number?
That's the thing. It gets rid of the hard number entirely.
No more $25,000 cap.
Gone. Instead, it moves to a variable limit that's tied to salary.
So what can they offer now?
Under the new rule, an agency can offer up to 6 months of that employee's basic pay.
Whoa. Okay, so that's a huge shift. If you have a senior employee making $180,000 a year,
that's a $90,000 check to leave.
That is a much more powerful incentive.
It aligns the incentive with the salary, which makes it a much more effective tool.
But I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, if the government wants to downsize, why pay people at all? Why not just lay them off?
And that gets to the critical operational reason this has such broad support. The alternative to a voluntary buyout is something called a reduction in force, a RIF.
A RI? It sounds unpleasant.
It's an operational nightmare.
Yeah.
A RIF isn't just a manager saying you're laid off. It's this incredibly complex legal process that triggers something called bumping rights.
Bumping rights. What's that?
So imagine you want to eliminate one senior director position. You tell that person their job is gone. But because they have seniority, they have the right to take the job of someone just below them.
They bump them.
And bump them. So the director takes the manager's job.
And I'm guessing the manager then gets to bump someone else?
You got it. The manager might bump a senior analyst. The analyst bumps a junior staffer. It creates this cascade. One layoff can cause 5 or 6 people to be displaced.
It sounds like a giant high-stakes game of musical chairs.
That's a great way to put it. It paralyzes an agency for months. It destroys morale, and it almost always leads to lawsuits. So the argument for this bill is that buyouts are surgical.
One person gets paid, one person leaves, one empty seat, no chaos.
Exactly. No bumping, no cascade.
Okay. That makes sense operationally. But let's talk about the 2026 context. This isn't happening in a vacuum.
Not at all. You have the second Trump administration and its Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE.
Right, with advisors like Elon Musk.
And they have a very public, very aggressive goal. They want to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget.
$2 trillion, that's a massive number.
It is. And to get anywhere close to that, you have to reduce the federal payroll. So you have to see House Resolution 7256 as one part of a bigger strategy.
A carrot and stick strategy.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
So walk us through it. What are the sticks?
The sticks are the involuntary measures. We're seeing things like Schedule F being used.
That's the order that reclassifies thousands of career policy jobs into at-will positions.
Meaning they can be fired without the usual protections.
Yeah.
We're also seeing probationary purges, firing new hires with less than a year of service. Those are the sticks. They create an environment of fear.
And the buyout is the carrot.
It's the carrot. The administration can go to a senior employee and say, look, cuts are coming. You can stay and risk a RIF or Schedule F, or you can take this very generous off-ramp, 6 months pay, and you leave on your own terms.
So that explains the bipartisan vote. Republicans get a tool to shrink government.
A key tool for efficiency, as they see it.
But the Democrats and the unions, why did they get on board?
It's essentially damage control for them. The big unions like NTEU and AFGE, they're against shrinking the workforce, obviously. But they know the cuts are happening one way or another. So if their members are going to be forced out, they want them to have the best financial parachute possible. So you have this rare moment where both sides agree on the mechanism, even if they have totally different reasons for doing so.
That makes a lot of sense. But it also raises a huge debate about the long-term effects. If you offer a $90,000 buyout, who takes it?
And that gets us to the economic idea of adverse selection.
Break that down for us.
If you offer a buyout to a group, the people most likely to say yes are the ones with the best options outside of government.
They know they can get another job.
A better paying job. They can walk out on Friday, cash the government check, and start at a private company on Monday.
So you lose your rock stars.
You lose your rock stars. The cybersecurity expert who can work for a tech giant, the IRS lawyer who can join a big firm. You're paying your best people to leave.
And the people who stay are the ones who might not have those outside options.
That's the fear. You could end up with a less skilled workforce. It creates a brain drain. And we're already seeing the numbers on this. The Federal Harms Tracker is showing that by February 2026, over 213,000 civil servants had already left.
213,000, that's a city's worth of people.
It's a huge number. And it's hitting critical agencies, Defense, Treasury, the VA. The big concern is the loss of what they call institutional knowledge. You just can't replace an auditor with 20 years of experience overnight.
And there's a geographic piece to this, too, that I think most people miss. We hear federal worker and we think Washington, D.C.
It's a huge misconception. About 80% of the federal workforce lives and works outside the D.C. area.
80%.
These are people in towns across the country. In many of these places, those federal jobs are the economic bedrock. They're stable, good-paying jobs that support the whole local economy.
So when you cut those jobs, you're not just emptying an office in D.C.
No, you could be hollowing out the economy of a rural community in Utah or Alabama. The ripple effects are significant.
Okay, let's talk about the bottom line. The cost. This sounds expensive up front. Is it actually saving money?
It is an upfront cost, for sure. But the government thinks in terms of a payback period.
Okay.
An employee's cost isn't just their salary. It's the fully loaded cost salary, health benefits, retirement.
Yeah.
That adds about 30 or 40% on top of their pay.
So a $100,000 employee really costs the government something like $140,000 a year.
Right. So if you pay them $50,000 to leave, you stop paying that $140,000 every year. The government breaks even on that buyout in about 4.5 months.
That's a really fast return on investment.
It is, on paper. But that math relies on a very big assumption.
That the job stays empty.
Exactly. And that brings up the contractor loophole.
Hmm.
The work doesn't just go away because the person doing it left.
So someone has to do it.
And often, that someone is a private contractor. There's already a huge shadow workforce of about 5.2 million contractors working for the government.
5.2 million. That's more than double the civil service.
It is. And the concern is that agencies will use this bill to get people off the official payroll, then just hire a consulting firm to do the same work.
And that ends up costing more.
Often, yes. The contractor's price includes their own profit margin. So the official headcount looks smaller, but the cost to the taxpayer could actually go up.
Is there anything in the bill to prevent that?
There is one safeguard. It's a clawback provision.
How does that work?
If you take the buyout, you are banned from coming back to work for the government for 5 years. That includes it as a contractor. If you do, you have to pay the whole buyout back.
So you can't just take the money and come back next week as a consultant.
Right. It prevents that kind of individual double dipping, but it doesn't stop the agency from hiring a different contractor to fill that role.
I see. Let's zoom out a bit. Is this kind of buyout model basing it on salary common in other countries?
It's very common. In a lot of ways, House Resolution 7256 is just the U.S. catching up. The U.K. uses a system based on years of service, and it can be capped at around 18 months of pay.
18 months? That's way more generous than this.
Significantly.
Yeah.
In Canada, their transition payment can be around 30 weeks of pay. That's about 8 months.
So even with this update, the U.S. offer is still on the lower end.
It is, which tells you that moving away from a flat dollar amount to a salary-based percentage is just. It's a standard modernization of HR policy.
So to wrap this up, we have a technical bill that updates a 30-year-old rule. It passed with total bipartisan support because everyone agrees the old system was broken.
Right.
But it's also the financial lubrication for a major politically driven reshaping of the American government.
That's the perfect way to put it. The bill itself is just a tool. It removes the friction of downsizing by making it financially attractive for people to walk away.
And the big question is what the government actually looks like once all those people take the money and leave.
That's it. Is this going to create a right-sized, more efficient government? Or are we just funding an exodus of our most experienced experts, leaving us with a hollowed-out state that can't perform its basic functions?
I guess we'll have to keep an eye on the numbers.
We certainly will.
Thanks so much for breaking all this down. It's a dense topic, but you really have to understand these mechanics to see what's really going on.
My pleasure.
And thank you all for listening. We will be back soon with another analysis. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.